Hey everybody, you're watching Cad Roll Hunter, and this is part 2 of Monte's Hoard. We've got a whole bunch of pennies to go through. Hey everybody, it's James, and you're watching my channel, Cad Roll Hunter, and that's right, we have 5 bundles of 10 rolls of pennies. These all came from my subscriber, Monte, who had a big bucket full of pennies that he got from all sorts of places. And we're getting the opportunity to look through them here to see what treasures we can find in these rolls. Now, I got all of the tools that I need for coin roll hunting pennies. I've got all of my cups here to separate the zinc and the copper and the steel. I've got my scale here. We need to find some of the varieties. A magnet as well, courtesy of Walker Magnet. Of course, we got coffee. We can't do anything without coffee. And I've got my Canadian coins catalog from the Charlton company. This is a go-to guide for me. I'm using an old one. This is a 2020 version. You can get these. I think the 2023 should be out now or out soon. And of course, we'll also use some online resources like coinsincanada.com, and Numista is also very helpful. So we're going to try and see if we can get through all 5 bundles here, a whole box. I don't usually do that many because there's so many things to find in Canadian pennies. I'm hoping that this is going to be a fruitful hunt. Let's just get started with one bundle and see where we end up. Roll number 1, I've got a really interestingly toned 1985 under the scope. What we're looking for always, of course, is the pointed 5. This is the blunt 5, the really common one. You can see the end of this 5 is straight up and down. Of course, this is another tool I didn't mention that we need when we're hunting pennies, and that is our microscope. I'll put a link up above if you haven't got a microscope. This one that I have here is the pluggable USB. It's great. You can just plug it in right to your computer. It takes pictures. It takes videos. It's a great addition to any coin roll hunter's arsenal. Roll number 2, we're going to find our first older Queen Elizabeth laureate portrait, and we'll have to flip it over to see what we've got. It is a very common 1964 in pretty circulated condition. And look who we have here in the very same roll. We've got a King George VI. We didn't have to wait too long for that. This one is a 1948, and we can check for a couple varieties. So here's the 48 under the scope, and there are 3 varieties to look for. There's an A pointing to a large denticle. That's what we have here. It's a common one. There's an A pointing between large denticles. So instead of seeing the denticle right above it, you would see the gap between 2. The rarer one, the one you want to find, of course, is the A pointing to a small denticle. And rather than having these large rounded denticles, they're more like lines coming down from the rim. Another thing I'd mention about this particular coin is that it's in pretty decent shape. Look at all of the detail in the hair. You can see that. It is actually in remarkable shape for a 1948. This is really good. The high point on the obverse is the king's hair, and that's where you'd see a loss of detail as it's been circulated. And something interesting on this planchet, you can see like a line of what appears to be a different coloration. That might be a flaw in the planchet itself, as opposed to some kind of a toning. But it's hard to know for sure, but otherwise, we've got ourselves a really nice looking 1948. Well, we're off to a strong start because we're still in that roll, and we've got another laureate portrait find, this one in 1955. So we've got something from the 50s, the 40s, and the 60s. That's a great, great start. And I've put this one under the scope because there are 3 varieties in the 1955 as well. There is, of course, the shoulder fold and the no shoulder fold. The no shoulder fold is actually exceptionally rare in the 1955. It would be very valuable, even in this condition. It's really hard to see, but I think what we've got here is the common shoulder fold. And if we pull it up, of course, we can check that by looking at this eye that really doesn't have sort of the flared ends we'd find in the no shoulder fold. There are 2 shoulder fold varieties. There's a large denticle and a small denticle. And I think what we have here is the small denticle variety. They're both equally as common, and neither commands a significant premium. But it's always good to find a 1955 penny, and it means we've got a chance to look for a rare variety if we find one. And speaking of rare varieties, we've got a US penny here, or cent if you like. This is a 1992, and this means we've got a chance to find a rare variety. What we want to see if we can find is the 1992 close AM. So if I look at the reverse of this coin, this is the normal one, is what they call the wide AM. There's a big space between the A and the M. A different reverse was used for some of these, where the A and the M are almost touching. And in the 1992, the one you're looking for is the close AM. That's really rare. It could be worth thousands of dollars. I've got a couple American coppers here. These are Denver minted 1 cent coins. I just wanted to throw them up just to illustrate something really interesting about these older US cents, and that is that the mint mark was hand punched onto the dies. And that would have been the case back in the 70s. And that results in a lot of different variations. And you can see here, this mint mark on the 77 is pretty low down compared to this D that's kind of tucked in really close to the 9. And there are some varieties where you might find the mint mark well high up into the numbers, and like this one fairly low. And there are lots of interesting varieties you can find: repunched mint marks over mint marks, rotated mint marks, really interesting things. And there's a whole community of folks who are actually really interested in these sorts of coins and varieties. You can find lots about them. One channel on YouTube I'd suggest is Copper Coins. And Chuck Daughtry and Eric Beyer are experts in these sorts of things. If you want to get your hands on some, they do some regular auctions and roll reveals, coin roll hunting for repunched mint marks and other die varieties. If you're interested, I'll put a link to their channel in the description below for you to check it out, because I've done some of their coin roll hunts with them, and it's really interesting to find some of these varieties. You have to have a really good scope, probably even better than this one, in order to see some of those repunched mint marks, because they're very subtle. And but check out Copper Coins for some more information on those. There are some rare varieties in modern Canadian cents you want to look out for, and one perhaps no more than the 2006. There are several different varieties. This one here is no logo. Most or many have the Royal Canadian Mint logo. No P composition mark to mean it's magnetic steel core. This one here has no P and no logo. And the common variety of these is non-magnetic, which is this one. It's made of zinc. But there is a rare variety, which I have found. I've been very fortunate to find one that is magnetic, and it can be worth hundreds of dollars, particularly if it was in nice condition like this one here. So you want to check every 2006. If it doesn't have the mint logo or a P below the queen, you want to check and see if it's magnetic. We're going to have something in roll number 4. Let's take a quick peek here. It's another 1964. Roll number 5 is going to give us an oldie reverse facing. It's a 1951. We've got another King George VI in the roll. Awesome. Roll number 7. This time we're going to have a 1962. We can check for the guitar or harp variety. Some lines coming down from the 1. I don't see them, so we're not going to have that, but that's something to look for. Same roll, and we're starting to round out the 60s in our laureate portraits. We got a 63. Roll number 8, and we've got a gorgeous 1978. That is a fabulous looking coin. I'll roll that up with my BU cents. I've got them separated by years, and this one looks like a worthy addition. Same roll, and we're going to find our oldest coin yet. It's a 1941. This is our third King George VI. Pretty dark toned. Still some good detail on that one. Got another King George VI. Same roll, another nice one from the 70s. This one's a 79. No doubling on that date, though. Roll number 9 is going to have our third 1964 and our nicest so far. Roll number 11, and we've found a U.S. wheat cent. We'll flip it over and see what we've got. And it is a 1957 Denver, in pretty toasty condition, too. So I've got a 1984 Denver U.S. cent under the scope, and I've put this one up under here because I think I've found a die variety. I've got a mint mark that I think is repunched. So look at the D mint mark here, and you can see another D below it, and you can see part of that in there. I can't get too close to see some split serifs, but I've got the Copper Coins website up here, which shows the different varieties in the 1984 D. And this looks to be pretty similar to what we've got over here, where we've got that D showing up just like this one here, and with a little something in there. It's a little hard to tell. It doesn't look exactly like that, but we can sort through all of the different die varieties in here to see if there are other matches. There's another one that shows a similar kind of look. It could be something like that, but it's always helpful to look on Copper Coin's website to see if you've got any of these repunched mint marks. They're very interesting to see and find. Roll 12, there's a 1963 laureate portrait. Roll 14, we've got another laureate portrait. This one, it's another 1964. Same roll, what's it going to be this time? 62. Still going, here's another 1964. This one's still got a bit of mint luster. Towards the back of roll 15, let's see what it is this time. It's a 1957. That is our third 50s penny. Roll 16, we've got a dark toned penny, and this one is a 64. Same roll, another laureate portrait, 1964. Roll number 18, we've got another 1964. This is our 8th of the hunt so far, a very common year for us to find in the laureate portrait. Roll 20 is going to have our oldest U.S. cent aside from that wheat penny. It's a first year Lincoln Memorial. It's a 1959 Denver in pretty rough shape, but another 50s American. And actually just a few coins back in that same roll, we're going to have our now oldest U.S. cent. It's a 1953 Denver. If I flip it over, we see those wheat ears there. So we got a wheatie. Roll 21, we're going to have another oldie, and it's corroded. You can just see the lettering along the sides. This is going to be a laureate portrait, and we might struggle to get a date. No, we can see it, 1963, right in there amongst all that green. Same roll, and there's another old one, George VI, by the grace of God, it says. Let's see what that is. It is a 1950. Roll 23, another 1964. And a little further back, another 1964. This one's a little chewed up. Roll 25, and we've got something here. It is a 1958. That's our first 1958. Just at the very end of roll number 27, and we're going to have another wheat cent, another older American. We'll flip it over, and it's a 1944, and it kind of looks like Lincoln's got a black eye. Not sure what he got up to. Roll number 28, and I've got a 1979 under the scope, and you can see this is the double 7-9. It's got that die deterioration doubling just at the base of the 7 and the base of the 9. It's not as dramatic as we've seen on some other coins, but if I rotate it, you can see it's not a shadow. It persists as I rotate it, but that is some die deterioration doubling on a 1979. Well, same roll, and all of a sudden we found two in just the first 28 rolls. This one is the double 9. You can just see it at the base of that 9. Got another 1979 under the scope. This one also has the doubling on the 7 and the 9, and maybe a little bit on the side of this 9, so it could be a double 979, but this one is actually in pretty nice condition. It's got some toning to it, but still lots of luster. Pretty cool. And just at the back of that roll, that's roll number 30, actually, I should have said. And we've got another Elizabeth laureate portrait, and it's our first 1960. Roll 32, and this one's another 1963. Roll number 33, we've got something interesting. We've got a 1970 Canadian penny. On this side, it's painted white, but when I flipped it over, on this side, it looks like it's painted black. Some people have some time on their hands to deface coins. Who knows? Roll 34. Let's take a peek at what this guy is. It's a 1959, and I believe that is our first 59 of the hunt. A little further back, and it looks like we're going to get a beauty. Check this one out. What year is this going to be? It is gorgeous. Lots of mint luster. And it makes sense. It's a 1963, but that one is gorgeous. Same roll, there's a 1964. Not nearly as nice as that 63 we just got. And just a few coins back, a 1960. This is our second 1960 of the hunt. Roll 35 is going to give us another 1964. Well, before I get into roll number 36, I think I got to clear some room. I filled up all of these cups here. These first 3 cups are all copper. These ones are zinc and steel Canadian. We're basically close to 50-50 if you consider all of my finds over here are pretty much all copper. We're pretty close to 50-50, so that's pretty good. But I got to empty out some of these. I'm going to roll these up. All of these ones are going to go back. So roll them up. Give me some extra space so that I can put my coppers into a cup, and we'll carry on. And I'll probably do the same with all of my American zinc cents here that I've got. I'm going to roll them up. I've got a friend who will buy them from me, takes them to the States and spends them. We don't need those. And all of the copper ones are over here because I still set those aside. Back into the action, roll 37, and we've got another oldie. Check that one out as it comes into focus. It's a 1942. It's another King George VI. Sweet. Roll number 38. And it's a 1955. Very cool. And I just thought I'd pull this one up to see that this is a 1955 shoulder fold. We can tell by the eye that doesn't have much in the way of flares, and that eye is pointing in this case to a small denticle, so it's a no shoulder fold, shoulder fold, small denticle. Roll 39, there is our second 1958. And just a couple back, there's a 1962. Roll 40, and we're going to have something here. We'll take a closer look and see. This is a 1956, so we're getting a good run of dates in the 50s. So far we got 50, 51, 55, now 56, 57, 58, and 59. Pretty awesome. And speaking of awesome, check this out. We've got a King George VI at the end of this roll. And it is going to be a 1945. Really good. And speaking of really good, this is actually incredible. Check this out. I was just about to grab it because it looked like a modern Lincoln cent. But if you can see that date, that's a 1949. And this has a lot of mint luster to it. That is a beauty. This is probably the best wheat cent that I've ever found coin roll hunting. It looks to be essentially in uncirculated condition with some toning. It's becoming a little bit brown, you can see in the fields, but let's take a closer look at that. Wow, that is a gorgeous scent. You can see some of the change in the color, but the fields are nearly flawless. There are no scratches or dings. This is in uncirculated condition. We'll just flip that around and see what the reverse looks like. And the detail is incredible. Some spotting there, but that is a beautiful coin. Wow. A 1949 wheat cent in this big hoard of Canadian pennies. And that is going to be an addition, an upgrade to my collection, absolutely, for sure. Roll 43 is going to have a pretty awful looking laureate portrait. Let's see what that is going to be. It's a 1957. Roll 45, and here is a 1979 that still has a fair amount of mint luster, but what makes this one special when I throw it under the scope is take a look at that doubling on the date. That's a double 979 for sure. Substantial die deterioration doubling all along this 9, the 7, the 9, and over here on the leaf. That's a pretty cool one, and in pretty decent shape too. We're all the way into roll number 48. I was just about to make a comment that things are slowing down. We're seeing a lot of newer coins in here for whatever reason, but check it out. We got another foreign. That is 1 cent with the starfish, and that is from the Bahamas. This one's got a little corrosion on it. 1992, 1 cent with the starfish. And it looks like on the other side, there's maybe a flamingo and a marlin. Pretty cool. Well, I got roll number 50 in my hand. This is the last of part 2 of Monte's Hoard. You can see there's a whole lot of shiny, newer edges here. And one that really doesn't belong. It is a reeded edge, and it's not a copper coin at all. I don't recognize the edge, but we'll just throw this down, and we'll take a peek and see what is hiding in here. And it is a half franc from 1972 from France. And that is interesting. It's about the same size. It fit in the roll and must have just been thrown in the bucket by Monte. He might not have noticed, but we've got another foreign. So that's 2 for this hunt. And I think we got a few in the last one. That's really cool. Half franc from 1972. Well, it looks like we're going to get at least one last parting gift in roll number 50. There is a 1963. That looks like it's probably our 5th 1963 of the full 50 roll hunt. And the rest are looking pretty shiny, but we'll see. There might be something in there. All right, everything is hunted. I'm going to just get these arranged. We'll go through our finds in just a moment. Okay, we've got everything sorted out from part 2 of Monte's Hoard. We got tons of copper. I've weighed it all out, including the fines here, and we got 6 pounds, 15.4 ounces. That's just a little bit more than we got in the last one, which is 6 pounds, 11.8 ounces. So pretty close. So we got a lot of copper to add to the stack here. And here's a little pyramid of US copper. And we got a couple of foreigns in our penny hunt. We got that 1 cent from 1992 from the Bahamas and that half franc from France from 1972. Very cool. An oddity, we got that 1970 that is half white, half black. There you go. Just one shiny 1996 zinc cent that I thought I'd check against my collection. It looks pretty good. One little blemish under Liberty, but might be better than what I've got. Found a few better than average Canadian copper cents, 1978, 79, 81. In the Laureate portrait, we found 23 in the 60s, a couple 60s. We got some 62s, none of them were the guitar or harp. Some 63s, including that really nice one on the top there. We got 12 1964s. In the 50s, we got a 50, a 51, a couple of 55s, both the shoulder fold. A 56 I want to show you under the scope in a minute. A couple 57s, a couple 58s, and a 59. So a pretty good run in the 50s. But why I want to take you to see this one is because I believe that what we have here is the hanging 6. You can kind of see it. I'll put it under the scope, but normally when a cent like this is circulated, it's really hard to tell if you've got that die clash that makes it look like the last number is hanging. It is, of course, a die clash of the Queen's chin and neck that was impressed upon that side of the coin. So let's take a closer look. You can tell me what you think. All right, here it is under the scope, and this might be an example of one being harder to see under the scope than it is even by the naked eye. But what we're looking at is this line here that comes down to the 6. And I'll just rotate the coin a bit to see if we can get a better view of it, a better angle. You can see it actually much better here where that line is coming up like that. So that is definitely the 1956 hanging 6. And like I said, normally hard to tell in this kind of condition, but that's okay. So we've got that, and that's great. We found some in the 40s. We got some older King George VI, a 41, a 42, a 45, and a 48. And then we got some wheat pennies, and I think amongst the wheat pennies might be our best find of the hunt. We got that 44, but look at that 1949. That is probably the nicest wheat cent that I've found coin roll hunting, and it's in the 40s too. We got a 53 Denver, we got a 57 Denver, and a couple of other notable finds, some 1979s. We got a whole stack here with the doubling on the date, and some are pretty significant, so that's cool. And then what we got here is that 1983 Denver, if I can get it to focus. 84 Denver, pardon me, that I think has the repunched mint mark. And if I put that under the scope, once again, we can take a peek and see that there it is with that D. You can see that impression beside that. And there is one I can see on Variety Vista that looks very similar to this. And so, and on Copper Coin's website. So I think we're good here that we've got a repunched mint mark from the wild. I really hope you had a good time watching that penny hunt video from Monte's Hoard of Pennies. We found lots of good stuff in there. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, Capital Hunter, please subscribe now. You'll find out when I've got new videos coming out. I have new videos coming out all the time. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.